Patty.
Hi, Ray.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, so for the viewers, maybe we can get a little more knowledge about who and what you do at the city. You're the city clerk, right?
That's
and how
correct.
long have you been in the city?
I've been working for the City of Salinas since 2008
Wow.
in various departments. Started originally with the police department as a community service officer, worked my way up and to deputy city clerk, and now I'm in the position of the city clerk. So.
Yeah, so what does the city clerk do?
A little bit of everything. You know, a lot of people think of the city clerk position more as a glorified secretary position. That's, you know, to some degree we do handle the responsibilities of being a secretary for the local jurisdiction and for the city of Salinas in particular. But there's more to a city clerk than just being the secretary responsibilities. We are the filing official for elections, so you'll also hear the city clerk referred to as the elections official. So anyone that's running for, whether it's a city council seat or the mayoral seat, they have to file all their paperwork, come and inquire about the process with my office. We also deal a lot with, you know, filing with the Secretary of State and the Fair Political Practices Commission, any mandated reporting that the local jurisdiction is responsible for with respect to conflict of interest, and also the campaign contribution statements, so any funds that the city council members receive during their election cycle. One of the most important responsibilities, I think, of our office is the customer relation piece of it. Not only are we on the back end, you know, behind a desk answering phones, but we also have a lot of responsibility when interacting with the public. If a resident of the city of Salinas doesn't know exactly where to go, you know, they have a general question, the city clerk's office and administration is a main point of contact.
Right.
So we are definitely an information referral center as well as all the other responsibilities that we have.
Yeah. So you receive a lot of, quote, customer requests of all kinds, right? Being, you know, where you're positioned and from your title and your responsibilities. So can you kind of give us, you know, what the range of types of requests we receive from the citizens?
Sure. Again, as the main point of contact for the city clerk's office, as you first walk in, that's the first office that you come across, city managers and city clerk. Complaints can range from, you know, something as simple as, who do I call for a, you know, a tree-related issue? So, you know, when we get complaints like that, we definitely are responsible for having the knowledge and the resources available to us to be able to refer the resident to the correct place. The last thing a resident wants is to be given the runaround and going from one office to the other. Tree complaints, something as simple as, you know, I have, you know, some issues with my garbage, or how do I go about getting my senior discount application processed for a reduced rate for garbage, to a light that's out at an intersection, sidewalk related issues. Sometimes it's a simple appointment, whether it's with you, Ray, as a city manager, or a resident wants to speak to the mayor or a council member, and we're there to assist with filtering those requests and concerns throughout the entire city.
Right. So I can imagine not only your office, but many departments, all the departments receive many different types of requests, either involving their department or maybe sometimes involving another department, but the citizen may not know. So there probably is a pretty high volume of requests that come in overall to the city.
That's correct. You know, we can have, within an hour, we can speak to, at a minimum, between 5 to 10 walk-in customers, and that's not including the telephone calls that come in. It is a lot that comes into the office, and you're entirely right. It's not just our department. You know, they'll go to finance, they'll go to the permit center, or to the public works office. A lot of the times people don't know what each department is really responsible for, so your go-to location is always going to be administration or the city clerks, or the main number, which is you know, the city clerk's number.
Right. So I mean, that's quite a responsibility, and probably the expectations very high by the community, citizens who want to know something that we're doing or more about how they can solve a problem. So I understand we're now looking at a new system for how to handle all those citizens' requests, right? Maybe you can start with how did we originate that idea of looking at an overall system for the whole city? Because we have a high volume, because there's so many different requests, and the expectation probably is pretty high in terms of, you know, us responding in a very, you know, reasonable way, timely way, and with the right information.
Correct. A lot of, so let me backtrack here a little bit.
Sure.
So we're definitely, with the need in being responsive to the citizens and the residents of our community, the city, and with conversations with you and with the city council members and just the workload that comes into our office, it became really evident that there was a need to implement something, whether it was a innovative way of doing service and conducting business with the residents or the community through whether it be technology or whatever exists out there to be able to facilitate that process. Traditionally, the way the requests come in are through walk-ins or an email. Mm-hmm. That can potentially get lost on a Post-it. You write something on a Post-it down when the resident comes in, it can end up in your recycle bin without even getting addressed. Mm-hmm. You have an email, and with the outrageous amount of emails that come through on a regular basis to all employees, those emails can also get lost, and the complaints can eventually become ignored, which then creates that disconnect between the community and the local jurisdiction. So in efforts to try to facilitate that and mediate that process, what we wanted to do was implement and start looking at programs and ways to be more effective in the way we conduct our business with our residents, so that we can also show to them that we are being responsive. You know, your complaint was received, but we also want you to know that there are some regulations and some maybe a little bit of hurdles that we have to go through in order to be able to address those concerns. It's not as simple as, you know, if me as a resident of Salinas as well, I know that I can't just call the city and expect them to come and cut down a tree that same day because the branches are falling off. You know, that takes time. So what we wanted to do was build that relationship through technology. The technology that we are looking at, what it creates, it allows the resident to be able to submit a resident, an issue that they have within our jurisdiction. Again, whether it's a tree issue, sidewalk, an abandoned vehicle, litter or debris throughout the city, they can submit that, whether it's a phone call. They're still able to do that. They can come and walk into our office, as we traditionally have done. They can submit it through a mobile app or a website portal that will be directly accessible through our city website. Once that is done, the system that we are implementing will route it to the appropriate department, the responsible person to handle that issue, and in turn will automatically send a response to the constituent or the resident that submitted that request, acknowledging receipt of the complaint or the issue, and also the status, provide a status update of where we are with respect to responding to that concern.
That sounds fantastic, actually. So somebody comes in or calls in or emails, then that request is logged into the system or registered into the system, right?
That's correct.
And then routed to the right place or the right person.
Correct. So as an example, if we have someone coming in to report an abandoned vehicle, we all realize that there's different levels of abandoned vehicle. It could be an abandoned vehicle that's out on the street, and it can be an abandoned vehicle or a vehicle that's on someone's driveway, which is still can be considered abandoned if it's, you know, missing major components of the vehicle.
Right.
Right now, there's difficulty in trying to determine what type and what department that goes to. So what the system will do and what we have done on the back end of the system is implement those sequences and the distribution to the appropriate departments. So the resident will be able to go either to the website, or us as city employees will be able to ask a series of questions and log that issue, and the system will automatically know exactly who to send it to. So if it's an abandoned vehicle that's out on the street, then we know it's going to go directly to the police department to address through the abandoned vehicles division. If it's on the private property, then it'll go to our code enforcement division to take care of. So all that is implemented within the system, the back end of the system, and all you would have to do as the employee is, take that constituent request, whether it's on the phone, in person, or provide the resident with the resources to be able to download the app and access the reporting portal through the city website. And as the resident, only 3 things that you will need to provide is who you are as a resident, what the issue is, and where the issue is located. So all we really think about throughout the, the implementation process is who, what, and where. That's really, unless there's additional information that you feel or that the resident feels is important to provide, the system will also allow them to be able to provide any additional commentary that they feel.
Sounds like a simple process for the citizen. And then once that information's into the system, you're saying they will be notified, and then they'll be updated on a regular basis until that issue is resolved or closed.
That's correct. So once the issue is routed to the appropriate staff to address, the system does automatically send a notification to the resident, whether it's through an SMS message, so an automated message. It could be done through a text message or an email as well, letting you know that your complaint has been received. If there's any activity on the city side, meaning the employee has gone out to assess the vehicle, or they went out and tagged the vehicle and acknowledged that it was an abandoned vehicle because there's a window between or from the time that it's marked to the time that it can be towed or removed or cited, the resident will also be notified if the staff puts in a status update on that specific issue report.
So internally, how does that work? Say it's about a tree, and one of our maintenance persons ends up being responsible for that particular request to cut down some branches in the right-of-way. So if the response isn't timely and it's not closed in a reasonable time, then is there some accountability internally to make sure the citizen's request is taken care of?
I'm glad you asked that, because there is definitely another component to the system as well, is that accountability factor, not just for the employee to ensure that the issues are getting addressed, but also for the city. We're public servants, and that's what we're here to do. So the system does have the ability, and it has been set up to where if the complaint isn't addressed, let's say a tree, if our standard timeline to go and assess the situation and conduct tree trimming or whatever the case may be is 3 days. If after those 3 days there has not been a status update, or the staffer that the original issue was referred to has not addressed it, it will get escalated to the next to their supervisor or the next person in line. If at that point during that escalation process the supervisor still doesn't address the doesn't refer it back to the employee that was responsible for addressing that issue, and it's not addressed within the time frame that was allotted for the supervisor to ensure that the issue is taken care of, it'll get escalated to the next level, which could be, depending on the issue type, it could be to the director, or it may escalate as far as the city manager, so that the city manager is aware. And you're right, we want to reduce the number of complaints that come directly to the city manager or to the council member, primarily because that is a reflection of the city. If we're getting complaints at the city manager level and the council level, that's an indicator that something is not flowing smoothly within our institution.
Right.
Whether it's our timelines maybe are skewed a little bit,
Right.
maybe we're short-staffed, maybe whatever the case may be, the system will give us the ability to be able to identify what those issues are, to be able to more effectively address resident
Right.
complaints.
So theoretically, it sounds like you can make one contact if you're a citizen, make the request, and if you know it's who and where and you know what, then they're essentially making one contact or one call to City Hall, right? Is
Correct.
that essentially their time of making sure that the issue is resolved from their point of view is on the staff and the system, and if it's not taken care of, like you say, a tree thing in 3 days, then it escalates to somebody who has is higher up in the organization and must be responsible. So that's the accountability part. So the staffer needs to have that responded to in that time. Otherwise, you're right. It looks like, well, how come it took so long? And that will help the customer, and it will help, I think, our city employees, you know, be more responsive, which is a good thing.
Correct, and you're totally right. It's one call, one entry in the system. That's all that the citizen is really going to be responsible for.
Right.
At that point, it becomes our responsibility to ensure that those issues and concerns from our community are being addressed.
Right.
You know, through the system, we have the ability of being able to use that possibly in the future as a budgeting tool, to be able to identify what locations throughout the city have higher concentration of specific issues, whether it's blight or you know, tree-related issues or sidewalk-related issues.
Right.
We'll be able to identify that. Right now, all those systems are on paper, which makes it a little bit difficult, more difficult for the city to be able to track and identify.
Right. So it should be more effective for the customer and more efficient for the staff. So you say it's getting ready to be implemented. So can you let us know in terms of, you know, what kind of, how did you end up with the kind of system or innovation or, you know, technology? Did you search? Did you inquire with other cities? You know, what was the process for deciding this is the right system we're going to, you know, implement that'll address our customer request issues?
Okay. One of the primary things that we were looking for was ease of use for both the resident and also the staff that was going to be utilizing the system. We did look at multiple vendors, very, you know, a very robust list and very qualified firms that focus on what is called citizen relationship management systems.
Okay.
Some of them have multiple suites and multiple specialties within them. The firm that we selected, the company that we selected, definitely their main focus is citizen relationship management. And they definitely came in above all the other firms in terms of the service level, the ease of use for the public and for staff. And, you know, you also want to take cost into consideration,
Right.
you know, is always going to be a factor when we're talking about local dollars. But you know, part of what the reason why we moved in this direction is also, as the city, we understand that there's a couple of things that we need to look at when responding to constituents. Is we're going to be addressing the quality of life for them through this system. You know, they will no longer have to, you know, leave their house if they don't want to come and submit a request.
Right.
They can do it electronically, which means that we're cutting down from your travel time to City Hall to be able to submit your request online or through an app or through a simple phone call to City Hall within 1 to 2 minutes time. which gives you more free time to spend with families, to enjoy the
Wow.
community or whatever
Yeah.
it is that
Mhm.
that the residents enjoy about the city of Salinas. In addition to that, one of the other things that we were really looking at when deciding what company to go with was the government efficiencies.
Mhm.
Is this system going to cut back on the staff time that's involved in going back to the office to check what other complaints or requests have come in?
Right.
And then now I have to go back out on the field and make sure that that's taken care of. Now everything is on a mobile device
Okay.
for the staff to be able to log in remotely and be able to track those requests. We don't have to write it on paper and then transcribe it onto their computer desktop back in their office. It can be done in real time.
Right. So, doing away with the Post-its.
Doing away with the Post-it.
That's good. Saves paper, saves time.
Exactly.
So, when will sort of the launch date be, Patty?
We're anticipating a soft launch towards the end of February,
Okay.
right around the same time that our staff training will be occurring, and an official launch date by hopefully towards the middle of March to the 1st of April.
Right. And how will our citizens know? There'll be some, information out on the web, social media. How will they know this is launched, and how will they know how to use it?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
The residents, so we'll go ahead and notify the residents of the app and all the features that come with it as we move forward with this process. Shortly after the soft launch, we're also putting together a full-blown media campaign to alert the community and let them know, hey, this is available for you now, and go ahead and use it. It's going to definitely range from a simple press release to advertisement through social media. We'll try to see if we can do a short video for the maybe to put at maybe a local movie theater to air to educate the public on how to download the app or how to file a complaint. That's always an option. We've done that in the past for other campaigns, and I know other nonprofit organizations and other jurisdictions also do the same. But definitely, it'll be a full-blown media campaign to alert the public that it's available out there for use.
A soft launch, maybe in March, and then maybe fully working, by April or May of this current year.
I would say April.
Okay.
We're targeting to launch towards the end, the full launch by the end of March, maybe first week of April. Our soft launch will definitely start the last week in February.
Right.
It's going hand in hand with the staff training, so we'll be able to go through our training with real issues.
And every department will be able to have this feature and be able to use this system, right?
Correct.
So it's not limited to non-public safety functions, or the fire department will have use of this, and the police department will have use of this, right?
That's correct. It's a centralized system that will be definitely used citywide across all departments and across all divisions.
Right.
And that was one of the key things that we were also looking at per your direction was, in the past we all have different types of systems to make our job easier, in terms of our efficiencies and the way we do business. However, the city was in real need of a full-blown citizen relationship management system, a way to be able to address those concerns citywide, not just individually by department.
Right.
We do that traditionally through whether it's an Excel sheet or, again, like we mentioned, the Post-its, but we now understand that it's not just about the work that the city clerk does, or it's not just about public works. We have a variety of concerns that the city is responsible for, and having something that will assist us in for everybody to be able to go in and assess and look at those issues that are coming in through a centralized system is a way to be a little bit more effective.
Right. One of the big things in apps is, what's the app's name going to be? What's this? What are we going to call this new system? Or
Well, I'm glad you asked that.
service.
I'm glad you
or
asked
have you
that.
decided that?
No, well, we're like I mentioned, we're in the early stages, but we did have a preliminary meeting, and I think we've landed on a name for the app, Salinas Connect.
Oh,
And part of the reason why we went with Salinas Connect was because it's a way for the residents to connect with local government and the staff to connect with the community.
ah,
You know, it's improving that communication and the relationship both ways.
Yeah. 2 ways. I like that. Salinas Connect, so that we have to watch out for that in the very near future.
Correct. Definitely. Salinas Connect, and it's going to be available in both Android and iOS.
So, soft launch in March, full launch sometime in April, and then reporting throughout the rest of the year.
Throughout the rest of the year and throughout the life of the system. So,
Right.
yeah, so anticipate the soft launch the last week of February.
Okay.
February between the 21st and the end of that week.
Okay.
And the full launch with the app available on both iOS and Android the last week in March, first week of April.
Right. So basically, if you have a phone, a cell phone, you should be able to handle this as a citizen pretty easily.
Yes.
You don't have to have a desktop computer. You don't have to have a laptop. You don't have to have an iPad. If you have a phone or access to a phone, this can work.
Yes, definitely.
So bottom line for the citizen, it sounds like it's a fairly easy and simple system using basic technology.
Yes, definitely. And again, the website is always available, which we all can access through our phone as well. If you find that, if the resident finds that they don't like the app, there's
Right.
always the website portal to be able to submit that complaint, which is also linked to QAlert, which is the vendor that we've selected. QSend Technologies, the system itself is QAlert. It's all available on the website for us to be able
Right.
to log those complaints as well.
Well, this sounds very exciting, Patty. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a change, but it sounds like a significant change for our community in that they'll be able to get responses from City Hall much quicker and hopefully avoid the duplicity, the extra call, the extra reminders that some people will do either by email or phone. They'll just call once or they'll email once and it will be taken care of.
That's correct. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So we're very excited about launching the product. Again, it's ease of use and definitely having those resources available for the public to be able to connect with the city.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's
Salinas
a great
Connect.
yeah, it's a great way to improve customer service, I think. So we'll see how that all turns out, but certainly has the makings of you know, a really change, a sea change, as they say sometimes, in how the customer is taking care of the citizen in this case, and their issues or concerns, or even it's just basic information.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Is there anything else you want to say about the system, or?
No, I think you know, we're really excited as you know, just our core team and definitely the entire city of Salinas is excited for the launch of this app. So again, just be on the lookout for a soft launch come the last week of February and full launch in April. So if you have an opportunity, Ray, and the community, definitely download the application or visit the website. We'll start pushing information out to the general public within the next couple weeks.
That's great. Thank you so much, Patty, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Ray. My pleasure.